Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the North East Non-League Show, episode 56, and a manager leaving special, sponsored by DJ Private Hire. And joining us now, we have Darlow fan Matthew, South Shields fan once he comes on Darren, and Blythe Spartans fan Michael as well. Lads, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, and it's the first one of 2024 as well. So everyone that's watching, I hope you have a great 2024. Like you say, since the 1st of January, the channel has now gone 100% non-league football. Really excited. Lots of people getting on board with it as well. Lots of messages of support. So we really appreciate that as well. But like we've just been laughing about really in the back there before we came on, we're expecting a nice quiet time over Christmas. I know I was going to enjoy a bit of time with the family and hopefully no breaking news, but it's just day after day at the minute with these managers coming and going, and lots to talk about tonight. So obviously starting with Darlow, South Shields and Blythe. Coming to yourself, Matthew, starting with Darlow, and the Boxing Day news broke following the 2-0 loss to Scarborough that the club parted company with manager Josh Gowland. I know a lot of people are happy with this. Was it yourself?
Yeah, I think it was long overdue. Again, I think the signs were there pretty early that it was all going to go really wrong. Not an appointment that I was a fan of right from the beginning. I was very vocal about that. And, I think a lot of when he got brought in, a lot of the people who were backing him, a lot of people who were getting behind him were saying things like, you never know, just give him a chance and he might get going. And I think as soon as the people who were backing you are saying things like, you never know, you're already on to a loser.
Yeah.
I feel like all these people who want to give him time and want to give him a go, I've never seen anybody give the justification. I think we should give Josh Gowland a go because he's a good manager with a good track record. And when you're in the predicament that we're in, that has to be your first priority to getting out of the situation we're in. So yeah, I think it was long overdue. The sacking after Scarborough, I thought it was never going to happen, to be honest. But we put a lot of investment and time and money into Gowling, and again, that was completely against what I would have done and what I would have chosen to do. But we are where we are now, and I'm just glad it's over and we can move on from it, really.
Yeah, and like you say, I mean, fans weren't too impressed from the beginning anyway with the appointment, but like you say, when did the alarm bells start for yourself? I mean, it didn't really start well, it never got any better, and it just got worse than this.
Yeah. Again, I remember the day we appointed him. I finished work at 5 o'clock that day. We announced him on about lunchtime, just after I got off my lunch break. So I turned my phone on at 5 o'clock. I was sat in the corner of the office, and I saw the news, and I just put my head straight in my hands and going, Christ alive, what have we done? Yeah, again, within the fan base, he's not the type of manager that most people knew too much about. He talked a good game, to be fair to him. The opening interview, he talks a lot about the analytical side of the game and really wanting to play an attractive brand of football. But again, I think that kind of feeds into why he managed to blag the job in the first place at the interview stage. Because our board, notoriously, they do delegate a lot to managers, and there's not a lot of real footballing people we've got on the board. And I think if you go there as a manager and you kind of blind them with science to some degree, I think that is a massive element of what happened. So, yeah, I mean, to be fair, from his first interview, I went, that's a good start for him, but I'm still not convinced that's the right appointment. We had Gloucester at home on the Saturday, who were in the same predicament as us. We were bottom, they were second bottom. They were coming into the game with a new manager as well, and obviously Gloucester being Gloucester, it was an 11 men behind the bar job and just try and grab a point if you can. Again, it was exactly what Hereford's fans said it would be. It was high possession-based football with not a lot of bite to it. Conceded a sloppy goal, really the only real clear-cut chance we gave away that game, and we only at the back of the net in the second half from a penalty from Will Hatfield, and it was a questionable penalty at that. So yeah, we went the 90 minutes without really creating anything too clear-cut. The real alarm bells started ringing in the fan base, particularly on Twitter afterwards when there was some debate over what formation we'd just watched.
It's never a good thing.
I was pretty convinced myself that it was a 4 at the back with Sucre as left back. Apparently that was totally wrong. Sucre was playing as a left-sided centre half and Salkle was supposedly playing as a left wing back. At which point I was thinking, well, why would you do that? If Salkle didn't cross the halfway line all game. And I mean, he's not naturally a footballer, but he's not naturally a defender by trade. And yeah, I think yeah, it never really got off to any sort of start, any sort of momentum. The points we did gain were all kind of, maybe you'd say against a run of play, points that you maybe feel that it's important to get points on the board now, but it's not a game you can really build any sort of momentum from and really imprint that style of football going forward. So I wouldn't ever say it really got stars. And yeah, there's never been a doubt in my mind that it was the wrong decision.
Yeah, 100%. Jake was mentioned there, Brew, get him off already. There's Jake in the comments already on that one. And Michael late up for Blythe tonight. Obviously, Dan missing out due to illness. Michael coming in. Great substitution that was. And getting across to Blythe Spartans now on the 28th of December. Statement of Fenton being relieved of his duties and placed on the famous gardening leave. What was your first thoughts when you seen the statement, Michael?
Like I say, it's never a normal day at Blythe. Defining normal, it doesn't exist. But this really was a one which, like, the performances for Blythe hadn't really been there, like, up and down all season. As you've discussed in previous podcasts, like, great start, then it really dipped, then it's picked up again. And I think obviously the key thing is he actually didn't get sacked. That's the difference from the managers across the board. He didn't get sacked. There's more to it behind the scenes, and that'll probably come out at a later time. From what we'll gather, he actually wanted a different role from a managerial role within the club. To what point, we don't know yet. It hasn't been announced. It hasn't been released. But yeah, surprise, shock. Very popular in the stands. I believe there's no issues within the board. Like, I don't think they've had an issue with him in his performances, and where he has won the league. You know, it's where we're expected to be. On the budget that we'll have, you know, it's obviously like on the lower scale compared to like the lads in the area. Obviously, us being part time as well, it's always going to be a tough league to be in. So yeah, it was a shock decision. Caught a few people by surprise, but like I say, it's just get it around it. We're not sure how, but there'll be more to it. Come out. It's still quite a fresh thing. There's obviously gardening leave. There's obviously going to be. It's not done. There's going to be more to it.
Yeah,
probably in the next few weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we chatted before the season started with Dan on the show, and I think we all kind of predicted a very tough season for Blythe down at the relegation zone. But to be fair to Fenton, the lads are kind of stuck at it. We got the squad together, and like you say, the really good start. I know things did change, but I mean, around the ground, what was the thoughts? Obviously, with the fans as the results were turning quite poor, were they still sticking by Fenton, or they were kind of asking for a change at that point? What was the situation before the statement was made?
Before the statement we saw, obviously that was just a few days after Christmas and the Boxing Day result at South Shields. Obviously, I don't know if you were aware or not, he actually wasn't there on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
We were informed that he was at another, I think it was a Northern League, or is it it might have been Hebden Town's game.
Right.
For whatever reason, you know, it's not out of his nature to not be stood on the touchline. He's been renowned to sit in the top of the stands first half of a home game, watch a game, and then come down and like say all XYZ tactics. But yeah, overall, I think Fenton's he is relatively popular, or has been popular within like the general Blythe Spartans like community. There's always people who are never happy. They want previous managers.
Yeah.
Says they've done nothing wrong. Obviously, the previous gaffer was Terry Mitchell, who's now at Darlow. Was it Spenny? It's Darlow. Yes, it's Darlow. Sorry. Like I say, that was a bit of a shock. That was a shock after one league game previous season, obviously. But everyone wanted to give Fence his chance in just July gone, make his own squad, get his own players in, etc. Obviously, his flexibility. There's not much flexibility there with our budget. You know, the pool is relatively small. Like I say, we're competing with the likes of Darlow, Spenny, even Morpeth for like these part-time / full-time footballers. We're at the bottom of the scale financially, so it is hard. And like I say, but we've kept the majority of the squad from our previous struggling season. And like I say, some September, I believe, for 1 week or two, we would actually top the league. And it just shows like, oh, this is what Fenton can do. And then it actually leads into John Shaw became our assistant manager at the start of the season. That'll probably like slide nicely into the next topic.
Yeah, really good, isn't it? I mean, Darren was supposed to come on. I think he's had a few issues with his connection. So we're just going to kind of have a little bit of chat about South Shields, obviously in the same league as well. I mean, when the news came out, obviously that Arca and Miller part of the company, I know results were kind of going in a bad way, but I was quite surprised to say they're just outside the playoffs. A lot of fans kind of said that that's where we should be around at this point in the season. I mean, were you surprised with the news of South Shields?
Yeah, it definitely caught me a bit off guard. Again, the results of late haven't been fantastic. I think it was one draw out of the last 5 games or something like that. They hasn't won in 5. But Thompson's always struck me as a relatively level-headed chairman, and I didn't really think he'd pull the trigger that quickly on him. Again, with the Phillips thing, that was obviously more of a behind-the-scenes issue. This time, you tend to wonder whether that was also more of a behind-the-scenes issue, because I don't think results probably warranted his sacking. But again, when you look back to the summer, I was surprised by the appointment of Arca. I thought we would go for someone a bit more established in this league when coming in.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
But to be fair, if I'll put it this way, if Arca had come to Darlow, I would have definitely said we could have done worse. Yeah, I still think Arca has a future in management. And there's no contenders really jumping out to me as who would take the Shields job at the minute. I think they're not in a great place behind the scenes, obviously, with Thompson wanting to get out. It's not the type of situation where you look at other clubs like a Hartlepool or something and say, right, Sting's just going to mothball them and try and pull out as much money as he possibly can. I do believe that Thompson is going to run the club properly until his time comes to sell it on, which who knows how long that's going to be, because it's a lot of money he's going to want for it, and he won't feel like he has too much time to get out. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops over the course of the season. But yeah, again on the Arca front, I was really surprised by it, and I really thought they'd stick by him.
Yeah, and what was your thoughts on it? Were you surprised by it, or do you think it was a correct decision at the time?
Yeah, I mean, it was. Sorry, I didn't catch you. That's why there was a pause. But yeah, it was a bit of a weird one as well. Like I say, I thought obviously we were seeing the negative results, and this was obviously prior to playing like us over the Boxing Day, Christmas double head. I think he should have been really given a bit more time. There obviously is, as Matthew said, like behind the scenes scenarios happening. Was it Arca? Did he want out maybe before it got to a point where I don't know, because it technically was sat, wasn't he? So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I think they literally just dropped out the playoffs last game or two. Obviously, you can kind of see that it's the league starting, like the top 2 are starting to push it. There's a bit of a gap forming. So yeah, like I say, a bit of a surprise one. Initially, I presumed they would have had someone like nice, like lined up to get shot of them quickly. You know, that tends to be the scenario. But obviously, like nearly a week later, there's not. I don't think there's even any rumbles of any names. I believe it's I think Picton's doing a caretaking role. He's been there for a while. Maybe they're going to happy just give him a chance instead of hiring an additional player, especially if they're going to be like money saving, etc. So yeah, let Darren in have his opinion on that next.
Even Darren, happy New Year as well.
Yeah, finally got their problem sorted.
So we're just chatting there about South Shields. Obviously, the news broke last week about Mill. I mean, as a South Shields fan, what was your thoughts on the breaking news?
Bit of sadness, but at also the same time, not really surprised. I mean, I was one of those at the beginning that wanted Arca to succeed because, well, you know how much he was loved by us as a fan base for what he did as a player. I mean, he is a legend for us. I mean, I saw him as a South Shields legend first and foremost, by the Southern connection. But you could just tell the last 6 to 8 weeks of his tenure that his inexperience was starting to show as a manager, because there was those accusations all around that he had no plan B and all that, and when teams were starting to get the grips of how he was setting his teams up and having to play, and they were starting to combat it, and then it was starting to win games and all that. But it was John Shaw's post-match interview after the 3-1 defeat that just hit home that Arca was out of his depth, because he bragged on the post-match interview that he spent all of Christmas Day watching past South Shields performances and forming a game plan against it, and he looked absolutely chuffed to bits that we played exactly how he planned. It just validated every fan's complaints that Arca did not have a backup plan in place, and it just showed in that first half. It was very, very painful to watch as a South Shields fan. I mean, I know if you're a Blythe fan, you're absolutely over the moon. But yeah, it wasn't a pretty watch. At least I won the second half, though.
It's always a plus side. Yeah. But no, anyone that's watching as well, I mean, what's your thoughts on obviously the first thing about the managers leaving? Get your comments in as well. And getting on the next part was kind of the next kind of stories, who's going to be coming in. It was quite funny because every time there was a manager leaving at a certain club, they were getting linked with that club, they were getting linked with that club. It was good. I think everyone expected it would just be a merry-go-round where I would go to that team, someone would go to that team, and Fenton was linked with every job. So it was quite a strange time at the point. But Matthew, a few names mentioned, obviously straight away Darlow, the likes of obviously straight away Fenton, Arca, Hodgson, Martin Gray as well, back in the mixes. I mean, what was your first thoughts? And I mean, who did you want as manager from the off?
When Armstrong was sacked in September, the first name I wanted was Watson. I felt like, again, it kind of goes back to with the Gowling appointment. I felt like there was kind of this feeling within the boardroom, a sense of naivety that we could just kind of coast out with our current position, and that once we kind of get out of our current predicament, we can then kick on and really make something of the season. And again, that comes back to there not really being many football people on our board, hence why all the football side, which usually delegated to the managers. And when things go wrong, it's often quite an expensive mess to clean up. But again, I think, one thing DJ said quite a lot in things like fans forums and interviews over the time where the difficult period after we just sacked Armstrong and Garland was struggling to find his feet. He said a lot about Kidderminster last season. Look at them, they had a really bad start of the season. You string a run together and all of a sudden you find yourself in a really good place, and that's all well and good. But that's not taking into consideration the fact that this current crop of players that we've got are absolutely useless. I've genuinely not been over dramatic here. They are by far the worst side I've ever watched playing a Darlow shirt. I was there in 2012 when we were in administration and we were playing with teenagers every week, and the odd 40-year-old do come out of retirement and play for free, and they'd absolutely batter the current lot we've got. They are honestly absolutely horrendous, and I think it needed a big overhaul to turn around. And again, Gowling comes in talking about all his connections, and we had to say any of that. So, but I felt Watson really fitted the bill. I felt like he was pragmatic, something that would unite the fans, something we could all get behind. So, back in September, Watson was the first name that sprung to mind and kind of the obvious replacement to Armstrong. This time around, again, Watson was near the top of my list, although I was aware that Askey was probably about to be sacked by Hartlepool. Was that realistically attainable for us? Debatable. Again, he's a name I could possibly see going to South Shields with the sort of money they throw at it. I couldn't really see Askey dropping to part-time level. So in terms of what you'd think was nailed on as attainable for us as a club, again, Steve Watson is the obvious choice for us. And I think the board have learnt the lesson from last time. They needed to get in someone who was going to unite the fans, because going with that left field option last time. And again, another left field option we were looking at last time was Ian Watson, who's obviously now the assistant in K Dons. But again, I think in another time, in another place, maybe if this had been in the summer and you'd had a little bit of time to get your own squad together, I think maybe that is a possibility that we could have gone for. But right now, I think what you need is a safe pair of hands who knows the league inside out and can bring you in that turnover of players that we're going to need, because this current group of players just aren't going to do it for us at the minute. So I'm really happy with Watson, and I'm really hopeful that if anyone can keep us up, it's going to be him, although it might well be too late for us just about now.
No, like I said, yes, I think a great appointment in Watson. I mean, like you say, they've had the experience at Yorkgate, Chester, also worked with Newcastle Academy as well, where he might bring one or two lads in. But I know we were chatting to him, I think it was about a year and a half ago. He was just at Chester at the point outside the Newcastle Stadium. We were kind of talking about the non-league scene, and he was kind of hoping that he would get a job up here. And I just think, with being back in the area, so excited, isn't he?
Yeah, I think a lot of the thing with that as well is people would look at his track record and say Chester probably didn't go quite the way he wanted. But when you look at the comments from Chester fans, there was like 99% of them would tell you that he was a much better manager than the statistics suggested, and that it took him a little bit of time to get going, but he really did sort out their defence, and they had those connections to really build on something. And a lot of Chester fans wanted him to stay on for the following season, but obviously they made the right call there in hindsight with Carl McIntyre. So, but again, he hasn't been out of football in that entire time. He's been away with Newcastle in the coaching role, and again, I think that's can be quite vital to where we are as well at the minute, because we've got a lot of young lads in the squad who play largely on confidence, and I feel like again it's about playing with a higher tempo. It's about being braver on the ball, getting bodies around the box, and yeah, he's making all the right noises at the minute. So I'm hopeful as I'm ever going to be, I think.
Yeah, a clever appointment as well in Terry Mitchell. I think that's a great appointment. It's just all positive signs, isn't it?
Yeah, again, he's got a vast coaching experience all throughout the pyramid. He's going to have connections he can bring in. As far as an assistant manager goes, I'm not really sure if there's any higher caliber you can go for than someone like Mitchell, someone who's had experience of a relegation battle in the National League, not before all that experience. We're going to need every last bit of it if we're going to actually stay up in this league. So I think with this management team and what we've put together now, we've given ourselves the best possible chance of staying up, and the only worry now is that we're too far adrift to really turn it around.
Yeah, hopefully. Jake, who was your favourite? Who did you want in charge before Watson came in? Was he your main man? And Darren spent obviously now with South Shields and Dickman and Pickman in charge for now. And to be honest, like we were just chatting before we came on the show, there's not too many names or rumours really getting mentioned. I know one of my friends, he's a massive South Shields fan, even he hasn't heard too much information. I mean, what's your thoughts on it? Would you give them some time now, or would you look at bringing in a new gaffer?
Even I've not heard much, to be honest. They're keeping it very quiet at the moment. But for the time being, given the uncertainty around Jeff Thompson's shareholding of the club, which he's trying to sell, I don't think any manager with a grain of salt will want to touch us with a barge pole. So in the meantime, having Dickman there, I mean, he's got, was it 20 years experience for the Sunderland Academy? And he had a few years at Newcastle as well. He joined our academy in the summer, and he's done a good job there. He got us to the second round of the FA Youth Cup, and he's managed to send all of his a very good chunk of his youth team over to North Shields. I think it was 9 or 10 players. I think it was. But the main criticism was that he has no senior experience, and that's where Lee Picton comes in. I mean, Lee Picton. If you pick any coach in the Northeast who knows South Shields better than any other coach, he's your man. I mean, he's been a player for us, manager. Well, he won everything for us as a manager, to be fair. So I think Picton is the safe pair of hands to help guide Dickman through this. And in the Blythe game, I know we lost 2-1 against Blythe, but I wasn't there. I wasn't there myself. I mean, I was ill and all that. But my dad was there, and he said that even though Dickman's only had 2 training sessions, he saw a marked improvement, at least in the first 20-25 minutes, in how we played. Yes, Blythe came back to dominate the rest of the game and fully deserved to win the game. But given he's only had 2 training sessions, it leaves us with plenty of hope going forward, at least for the next few weeks, while the club sorts itself out behind the scenes.
Yeah.
The players seem to like them. He's sounding great in his interviews, and I really like the noises coming out of the first team, at least in the last week since that 3-1 defeat. So we've got pretty high hopes going forward. We can at least maintain or or I don't, maybe playoffs is a very long reach now, but I don't care about that. I just want to stay. I just want like be stable and just be have some calmness around the area for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was a vote kind of said if there was a new gaffer to come in, a lot of names mentioned of the FC Manchester gaffer, Neil Reynolds, a lot of experience that league as well. I know a lot of fans kind of said it's going to be another Sunderland former player, kind of go likes along for Kevin Phillips' arc. But I think if they did appoint a new manager, it would be nice to see someone come in, possibly like the likes of Neil Reynolds with new ideas, a new plan, not someone from the area, with a totally different stamp to put on the game. Do you think?
You speak with a few of the fan groups. There's a lot of there's a good few people that are fans of Neil Reynolds. I mean, he always enjoys his visits up here. Then I'm one of those that me personally, I'm not a fan of his style, but that's just me. I'm like the outlier in all that. I just think his personality is a bit up there to like a big ego type of manager to take on our role. As far as the Newcastle Sunderland connections, I don't care about that. I mean, I just want the best man for the job. I mean, that's why I was a bit jealous of Matthew and Darlington when they took Steve Watson. I wanted Steve Watson initially, not just now. Actually, when Kevin Phillips took over, I wanted him then. But yeah, you might have been out of our price range. Naturally, Fenton was mentioned as soon as he was put on garden leave, but given what happened when he left us, there's no way he's coming back here. No, never in a month of Sundays is he coming back here as manager. Alan Armstrong, he was one that I really fancied as well, just because of the experience of this division. I know his time at Darlington didn't end well, but I always thought to myself that maybe he's a guy who just wanted a fresh challenge, a fresh start and stuff like that. But but for the time being, I think we'll be sticking with Dickman and Picton at least for maybe a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, and I'm not going to complain about that at all.
Yeah, no, definitely. And on to Blythe now, Michael, and obviously John Shaw was named new manager. And I think sometimes, obviously, because he knows the players, he knows the setup, how they're going to play, sometimes it's a bit easy for those players to kind of pick up where they left off. But obviously, with a new voice kind of taking over, it helps as well. But I think sometimes when you bring in a new manager, it might unsettle players. Does the manager fancy us? But I think it's a great appointment to put John Shaw in place. What was your thoughts on that one?
Obviously, it was literally the following day, I believe, or 2 days after. Obviously, like realizing the Fenton that was not going to be there going forward. We never even got the chance to process, who's going to come in. You know, we knew for fine fact, all right, he's came in as a interim or a caretaker, whatever you want to call it, and that was fine. You know, obviously it was Graham who brought in John back in the summer, so we're expecting, will he hang around? Has he been here long enough to really have that bond with the club and the players? We weren't sure, but like I say, from what we have seen, like I say, I know a few of the lads have witnessed a few training sessions during the summer periods, back when it was nicer. They've seen a few bits and pieces behind the scenes, and it's John who does seem to be the one to be the more the technical aspect. Like I say, I'm just going off what other people have told us, and it's on the rumours. But overall, fantastic signing, to be honest. Especially that we're going to want a year and a half deal, as you'd say. It's just a bit of concrete, you know what you're going to get. We know what we're going to expect on the pitch. Like I say, obviously Darren was saying instantly he wasn't there, but he lost his dad when Blythe were playing. That second half, obviously, we knew South Shields would come out. We knew that they would do that, pay back from Boxing Day. We knew that was it coming. And obviously, Blackett, arguably one of the best players in the league. 4 minutes. We were thinking the worst. You know, we were expecting I was anyway. And obviously, that happened. Thankfully, we got the equaliser, and I think that changed the game just before half time. So, but sure, yeah, I mean, yes, yeah. We'll move on to the next point. There's Blythe are losing a lot of players. They've lost 2 today, which we knew about, and we believe there's going to be more going out the door. We don't have a big squad. We can't afford a big squad. it's going to be interesting now. John's in; he's getting himself. He's only been in a week, if that. We're going to need a few key good individuals. Where he gets them from, that'll be the interesting point. It's a great chance for him to prove, look, first managerial job. I'd like to believe he's got a good few connections around the northeast and probably a further afield, with his football league experience. I think he's down the Sheffield way. We don't know. Like I say, it's really unknown territory for the club and him. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, happy with his appointment. That's definitely, and I think I couldn't find a person to say a bad word about John Shaw.
Yeah, I think it's like you say, the great start. I know they're kind of not saying the first one was his, but he was in charge, so I'm going to give him it. Obviously, beating South Shields twice over, like you say, the 3-1 and the 2-1. What a cracking start. And I mean, that just gives you that bit of confidence as a fan to say, hold on, he's actually putting in a good job. And I think that helps, obviously, getting the wins straight away. You just grow on from there, don't you, really?
Yeah, I mean, no one expected, even Darren will say, you'll never expect what happened on Boxing Day. That came from absolute nowhere, and I think everybody in the ground was stunned. Was it 35 minutes in, 3-0 up? No one really expected 1-0. It should be the other way around, as if it was how it's been going this season. But yeah, like I say, if that's John putting his stamp on the team and his tactics, and like I say, we're saying that he's been watching how Shields have been performing. Obviously, they're having a bit of a downturn at the minute. We took full advantage, and it's good to see that the players are actually putting in the performance and playing for him. It's looking good going forward, because we need it. We're overdue it.
No, definitely. Before we get on to the last couple of questions for the lads, I just want to say a massive thank you again, everyone that's watching. And like we said before the start of the show, and that's what we came on the field watching before, I hope you have a great 2024. Like you say, now the channel is now 100% North East Non-League, so please help us as much as you can. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and please like the video as well. And get on to kind of chatting about towards the end of the season now and what's going to be happening in the second half. I mean, Matthew, starting with yourself, I mean, poor results of late, obviously sitting 23rd. 8 points off safety. I know the goal difference is looking awful at the moment, but it's a new gaffer, like we've just been chatting about. It's a new hope. I mean, what's your thoughts on the second half of the season? What would be your aim now if you were in charge now, pushing on to Steve Watson?
Only one aim now for the end of the season, and that's just to keep your head above water by whatever means possible. We need points on the board, and we need them quickly. Draws aren't really good enough. We are at the ground running. I'm hoping we've got a few new players lined up to do that, because, as I said before, I don't think this current group of players are capable of doing that. Again, I think we've given ourselves the best chance possible of staying up, the likes of Watson and the experience of having Terry Mitchell in there. But yeah, just from what I want to see for the rest of the season, I want to see, in terms of the type of football, I want to see that higher tempo. I want to see players being brave on the ball. I want to see that more cutting edge in front of the goal, because that's something we really lacked under Gowling. Again, I want to see us keeping the back door shut. Our centre halves, ironically, have probably been our best players over the last few games. Jake Lawler's been excellent the last month, and Siddiq, who's come in, having spent a couple of years out of the game, having been released by Palace's academy, early signs of him looks really promising. Again, on Boxing Day, 2 moments of madness from the 2 full-backs, and that comes down to preparation, confidence, and just really what that manager instills in the team. So I am hoping to see a big difference, and I'll go to Kingsland on Saturday, another team who was struggling, and yeah, it's going to be a big game, a big 6-pointer, and yeah, we need every little bit of luck we can get going for us at the minute.
Definitely. And not South Shields down, and since that, obviously the 5-2 win against Spennymoor, it's like you say, been some really poor form. 11th at the moment, but you still look up. It's only 3 points off the playoffs. But I mean, as a South Shields fan, I know you mentioned on there, and I'll just try to get things back to normal. I mean, what would be your aims now for the rest of the season? Would you say?
Just consolidation, really. It's funny enough. In my preseason position, I had us in 11th.
It was. Yeah, I was going to say it, wasn't it? Yeah,
I had us in 11th. Yeah, and I never deviated from that, even though we were up in third place in the table, because I knew a rut was going to come, and somehow I just didn't think it was going to be this deep and this bad. But I just want to see some just some stability. Just get a couple of get some points on the board. You know, just get back into a groove where we're competitive again.
Yeah.
I mean, feed Blackett as well, because it's like Michael say, he is along with Danny Whitehall, he's one of the two best strikers, because Danny Waldron apparently he's now gone to Southend. He's just left Russell today. I just also hope that Gateshead don't turn a blind eye on Hassani, and don't recall him. We really like him, and he's a big cog in our midfield. Hopefully keep Tom Broadbent fit. He's been our best defender so far, in my opinion. Lafudu's been great since he's joined. Boney's been probably our player of the season so far. Despite, even though we've conceded so many goals lately, he's kept the score down a lot on his own a lot of the time. But overall, yes, Arca's gone and all that, but he's not left South Shields in what I would call a disastrous position. It's not as if he's left us in the bottom six and battling relegation. All that. He's left us in a good, strong place where Dickman can build from, and at least, at best, I would say, get on the fringes of the playoffs. But overall, I would just be happy with top half and just consolidation and just rebuild into the summer.
Not one. And finally, for yourself, Michael Blythe, I mean, it's kind of strange how in the relegation zone, and obviously 2 wins against South Shields, and he's sitting up to 13th and just looking above now, 5 points off the playoff. It's so strange how things can quick. I mean, I know we always speak to Danny. He just always says, I just want a season where we sit in the mid-table, don't have to worry about relegation, don't have to panic the last few days. I mean, going heading out the end of the season, I mean, what would you like to see going forward yourself?
Like I say, obviously 2 results off the bat of literally. It's another Blythe roller coaster. It's all we're used to be honest. As Dan's one of my best mates. I've known him for he brought me to Blythe 14 years ago, so we've never really had a steady season. It's either like going for promotion. Obviously, we had that season where Darlow Pip were. It was about 6 or 7 years ago, whatever it was. That was crazy. But yeah, for this season alone, like I say, we've got a couple of what I'd like to call 6-point, not 6-pointers, but fixtures you'd like to think we should be able to get at least compete for wins. We've got Bishop Stortford away on Saturday, that big Northern team. What's it called? Who else? We've got Banbury at home, who are kind of went into a bit of a free fall. And then it's Gloucester away, another team who I'm sure Darlow will be absolutely delighted if we can get some points off. We're used to being down there. We're only halfway through the season, or just after. Like I can take a game over. More than enough time for things to change, positive and negative. But knowing Blythe, I'm still looking. We're in the middle as it stands. I'm still looking down rather than up. I think people are kind of sussed. The magic survival point is going to be around the 50 mark. Like I say, there's a lot of poor teams in this league, but those poor teams can beat your Scunthorpes. Tamworth's not a good team. Look where they are. You know what I mean? It's the beauty of this league. It's fantastic. Obviously, South Shields have been missing out the last few years. This is their first taste of it, and I'm sure it's not doing them very good. Their heart rate's any good, So, you get used to it. But yeah, so Blythe is always number one is survival. Blythe's survival. But like I say, I've spoken to a few people. I think we're about 16 more points away from being that 50 marker. We could be absolutely fine, or we could end up going down in the final few games again. Depends on the incoming transfers.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's nice, like say, after the crazy week or so that we've had, it's starting to get things a bit settled now, and hopefully all 3 clubs can push on now. But Michael, Darren, and Matthew, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight. Really appreciate it. As always, hopefully back on in a few months' time to talk about staying up, pushing for playoffs, and nice safe mid-table finish as well, hopefully, and some good news. But thank you very much, lads, for coming on tonight.
Cheers for
no
having
problem.
us.
Thank you.
Excellent. I'm back again tomorrow night at 9:10 for the North East Non-League Show, episode 57, Gateshead FC, special with Dan and Emilio. And like I say, January, I've only been back a day or so, but January's almost booked up now. We've got the Stockton Town manager coming on very shortly, Whitby Town manager coming on, having a great season, in fact, as well. So always, as like you say, with the support that we get into the channel, thank you so much. Like you say, get across our Facebook page and also subscribe to our channel as well. Really appreciate the support as always. But again, thank you lads very much for coming on. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your night as well.
Cheers.